I would like for you all to think of a number that corresponds to the most money that you can imagine getting a hold of under any circumstance in a year's time. And write that number down. I'm going to repeat the question. Think of a number that corresponds to the most money that you can imagine getting a hold of under any circumstance in a year's time. And write it down. What are some of your numbers? Just spit them out. 25 million. And by the way, don't feel like you need to beat that. Because here's the deal, it's not like a contest. There are prizes, however. There are prizes out there, which I'll tell you about momentarily. This is not related to your prizes, so don't feel like you need to say a higher number than that, because you're not going to get anything. In fact, it doesn't even matter. What's interesting is whatever number you just came up with, the dollar amount, is actually irrelevant, okay, because it's actually relative. You'll see in a second. So, what are some other numbers? 200 million.
10 billion.
10 billion. See, now you seriously all feel like you need to go higher, right? So give me some other numbers. All right, so the question is, and I'm going to make a hypothesis here. I'm going to bet that no one in this room, not one, and how many people are here? 150 or so? I'm going to go out on a limb and say not one of you answered this question. You all answered a different question. Okay, so can anybody in here not double that number, whatever number you came up with? Who said 25 million? Can you imagine 50 million? Can you imagine it?
Yes.
Well, you shouldn't be able to. You didn't follow. Okay. So can anyone in here not double their number and still imagine that? There are no hands, so no one answered. I was right. My prediction was correct. You shouldn't be able to add 1 penny to it, right? Do you remember the question? What is the most money that you can imagine getting a hold of under any circumstance in a year's time? So you shouldn't be able to add anything to it. But if you can double that and still imagine it, then you didn't answer the question. Instead, it's very likely that you answered another question. That your mind, by virtue of the conditioning of the past, the conditioning of your past, you unconsciously, instantly, automatically translated the question that I posed, which was one about imagination, into something else, which probably had to do with your own estimates of possibility, like what maybe you could pull off based on, your prior earnings, your history, your expertise, all that stuff, and whatever you've learned about earnings. But I didn't ask you anything about earnings, right? Do you see that? You see the point here? Is that you unconsciously interpreted the question and answered a different one. And that is simply because of the influence of the conditioning of our past.